5 South Gardner Road.
Second.
Motion Freeman, second Harrison, based on Planning Commission's direction at the May meeting, staff recommends the City Council waive the limitation on successive applications and direct Community Development Director to accept a special use permit application for used car sales at 18865 South Gardner Road. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
What's this out there? We go into next week, or, I don't know.
Your waiver was approved. You can file an application for a conditional use permit if you like, or you can proceed with the rezoning. The choice is up to the property.
Yes.
Thank you.
New business item number 6. Consider authorizing the city administrator to execute 2 change orders to the contract for the White Drive sanitary sewer project.
Back in July of this year, City Council approved change orders 5 and 6 for the White Drive sanitary sewer project. At that time, change order 5 was for additional rock. It was an amount of roughly $95,000. There's typically 2 ways to pay for rock. One is by the cubic yards removed. There is also another option of paying for time and materials. We felt at the time that the $95,000 was a reasonable compromise with the contractor. He's come back and requested that additional funds and be done as time and materials, which is a legitimate way to look at it. And so what we've come back with you tonight is change order number 7, and if approved, it would void change order 5 in the amount of $95,000 and approve change order 7 in the amount of $137,825.10. Different method of paying for the material removed. Change order number 8 deals with pumping that occurred when we were dealing with the rock issue, and that would be in the amount of $14,776.60. Staff would recommend that we execute 2 change orders for the White Drive sewer project in an amount not to exceed $152,601.70 for the project. And if approved, it would void change order number 5.
At this point, we would open the floor to public comments. If there's a member of the public that would like to speak on this matter. Anyone? With no one coming forward and presentation complete, questions for Brian and Jim?
Brian, I know on change order number 7 and how it related to change order number 5 was before your time and before you had a chance to review. Looking back, is the 137, is that a fair rate of expectation? I know that's what the contractors asked for. I believe, Jim, you'll have to answer. That's lower than what he originally asked for, correct?
He had originally asked for $299,000 based on time and material.
Right.
And we've gone back and forth on that several times. We offered the $95,000 as our best estimate of what it should be, and thought that really is on the high side. I hate to argue in favor of the 137, but I feel compelled to do that at this time because that is what he says is his bottom dollar. He just can't go any lower than that, and if we don't accept that much, then he feels he's compelled to go to court.
Right.
And based on that, we'll spend more than the difference just getting there.
Is that a safe assumption, Jim? If that were to go to litigation, that $42,000 to get it up pretty quickly?
Your top dollar exposure is close to $300,000.
Right.
So that's what you're going to be arguing about, and you never know who's going to win or lose in these things. But your downside risk is a lot higher. You'd spend, by the time you took depositions, everything, you'd spend at least $50,000.
Okay. That's the question I needed
And you
answered.
wouldn't know what the result's gonna be.
Could you recover those costs if we won?
Unless the contract provides for recovery attorney's fees, you can't
Does it?
typically recover in those circumstances.
Do we know if our contract allows for that?
And that typically only is to the prevailing party. You don't know whether you're gonna be the prevailing party or not.
Sounds like we have a strong case, though.
We have a pretty good case based on our contract, but unfortunately, he has a pretty good case too.
And what is his case, I guess?
That the rock was an unknown to him, and that this is what it cost him to remove it. The borings that we had initially taken, which is what he essentially based his bid on, and he did not go out and take additional borings, which that kind of goes back on him. But we showed no rock on 3 of the borings, and, I mean, we had rock, but it was below the flow line, below the bedding. On 3 of the 4, and on the 4th one, the bedding was just into the rock 6 inches. In the meantime, out in the field, he actually found 2 places where the rock was 5 to 6 feet deep into the flow line. It was higher than it was expected to be by 5 to 6 feet. And that certainly was not what you would expect from the 4 borings that we had. When we went back and took 4 additional borings, we nailed the 2 spots with the borings. And based on those, obviously that, it was there. And certainly that's something we already verified more or less by what he was removing. But it was an unknown condition to him going in. He could have drilled 50 holes out there and never hit the thing, or he could have drilled 1 and could have, nailed it. It's just, you don't know.
But we're not disputing that we didn't allow for change orders for unforeseen circumstances. I mean, this is obviously, every contractor would have experienced the same problem. But what we're disputing, I thought, was that the rate that he is, either the rate or the time that he is charging for this removal. And I guess my question is, how do you prove that that is not a correct rate and time? It is not really the rate, it's the time, right?
Yes, I mean, it's a matter of efficiency when you do it by time and materials. We never agreed to go by time and materials. We agreed to consider it and ask for a price from him, which took us about 2 months to get a price from him. And by that time, we had broken quite a little bit of rock, and because of the time schedule with the school and other factors, we did not stop. And at that point, we just had to decide, well, how efficient is it? I mean, we estimated the value of the rock that was removed based on a cubic yard basis, and estimated on the high side for that. But regardless of that, he feels he spent $299,000 breaking rock, counting all the equipment and other material that he had out there. We could argue against that, but, it doesn't really matter. Just to get to court, as Jim said, we're going to spend $50,000, give or take. We're $42,000 apart between what we think it's worth and what he thinks it's worth at this point, is the bottom dollar. And to avoid spending more money and the possibility of losing and spending $299,000 worth of expense, I certainly wouldn't recommend that we take that course. I would recommend that we accept his offer of $137 and go from there.
Jim, do we know the other people that originally bid on this contract, do we know if they came out and did their own boring?
None of them did that we're aware of.
Okay.
It's something that we always recommend in our contract documents and our bid information, but almost nobody does it. On occasion, some people do, but it's relatively rare.
Is it pretty expensive to do that? I mean, what does it cost to, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, it's not terribly expensive if you hire a geotechnical firm and ask them for a report. I mean, it could run you anywhere from $1,200 that it cost us for the last 4 borings, which they gave us a real discount on, up to maybe $5,000 or $6,000 for the borings.
But all the bidders on this particular job, all went based on our borings, which said 6 inches of rock.
Yes. Now, our contract documents also says They cannot rely on that, and they are to verify it on their own.